Professor Zilli is primarily a Mughal specialist, Mughal history specialist, pre-modern history, and he has done extraordinary work on an important manuscript from Akbar's time, letters, Munshat Namukin, and several papers on Sufism and politics in pre-Mughal and also under the Mughals, then very incisive comments on Abdul Qadir Badayuni's Najatul Rashid, which is yet to be analyzed, even if it has been published. So, but we thought that since he comes from a very important madrasa which was established by Shibli's comrade, colleague, friend, student, Maulana Hamiduddin Farahi, a major commentator on Quran, and he was also associated with Nadwatul Ulama, Madrasa Nadwa, and Shibli Academy, Azamgarh, and he is also related to Maulana Shibli, being himself a Rajput convert from Eastern UP under the pressure of Aurangzeb's sword. Yes, to avoid actually infidelity, the Raja of Azamgarh was advised by Maulana Shriya Kuti to become Muslim. But luckily for us, the Muslim community and for Muslim League, that this community remained Muslim, reconverted in the 19th century. So he thought that, he would be in a position to tell us something really significant about Shibli's years of politics, even if we all know that Shibli is the greatest scholar. So, this is all.
I am grateful to Professor Aram for his very kind words about me. I am very grateful to the organizers of this colloque that they have given me an opportunity to be here and to benefit from the scholars who are gathered here. As Professor Aram has said, I don't belong to this period, but perhaps the only reason for my being here is that I belong to the tradition that is established. I have been brought up in that tradition. That is the only reason perhaps that brings me here. So the ulama have played a very important role in the struggle of freedom, and the contribution of the ulama of Deoband is very well known. But then there were scholars who made equally great contribution, if not greater. But then their contribution is not so well known. Shibli is one of them. Shibli has been described by his disciple and his heir, Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi, as the greatest scholar, greatest alim of the modern times. Some people may not agree with this assessment, but then there is no denying the fact that he was one of the greatest alims of the modern times. He was not only an alim, he was a great historian, he was a literature, he was a poet of both Urdu and Persian. He wrote extensively on Urdu poetry and Urdu literature and Persian literature. His book on Persian literature, Shaykhul Ajam, remains unsurpassed. And even Professor Brown has referred to it again and again, and it is still being referred in Iran. So his interests were very, very wide. And in that particular aspect, he perhaps remains unsurpassed. So Muslim League, about Muslim League, he has also written something. And he has also some particular attitude about Muslim League, very well defined kind of views. So I am privileged to present that position before this learned audience. Shibli, 1857-1914, was born in a Zamindar family of converted Rajputs at Bindawal, a village in Azamgarh district in the eastern part of the erstwhile United Provinces, now Uttar Pradesh. He was born while the first war of independence was at its peak. His father, Sheikh Habibullah, was Zamindar and lawyer by profession. He had also a substantial business interest in indigo and sugar. He had close links with the British officers of the district. His mother also came from a Zamindar family who traced their lineage to the Ansars of Medina. His maternal grandfather and two maternal uncles were lawyers by profession, and one of them had even qualified for the post of Munsif. His brothers were educated at Aligarh and other seats of modern learning, and one of them even went to England. He therefore belonged to a well-to-do family with links with British establishment in the region and familiar with modern education. After completing his traditional education under the most distinguished scholars of the time, he tried his luck at various jobs. Ultimately, he joined MAO College in 1883 and remained there till after the death of Sir Syed in 1898. He was the most distinguished volunteer scholar on the staff of the college, and Sir Syed had great faith in him, in his learning and his intellectual abilities. But even during the period when he had not yet developed serious differences with Sir Syed on religious and other issues, he did not see eye to eye with him on political matters and supported Congress from its very inception, in spite of Sir Syed's opposition to it. Shibli's love for democracy that seems to have attracted him towards Congress could perhaps be traced to his study of the early history of Islam, the pious caliphate and its democratic functioning. In a debate at the Students' Union of the college around 1892 on the theme of democracy is better form of government or autocracy, Shibli strongly supported democracy, and his forceful advocacy won the support of the students in spite of Sir Syed's strong opposition. In his speech, he profusely cited examples from early caliphate in support of his arguments. He also dwelt on the method of selection of the early caliphs. His ideal was second Caliph Umar Al-Farooq. His biography of the Caliph remains unsurpassed for the excellence of its historical analysis and literary presentation. The democratic functioning and participatory character of the government institutions during his rule is too well known. He believed in democracy as a part and parcel of Islamic tradition. Secondly, as a scholar who had particular taste for history, he must have realized that freedom and independence can flourish only a democratic system, and the community that has been dislodged from the position of political power and was living as a minority in the country could hope to survive and prosper only under democracy. It was about 2 years after Shibli's joining the college that the Congress was founded in 1885. At that time, he was in full agreement with the objectives of Aligarh movement. He had founded a school for imparting modern education at Azamgarh 2 years back, and had presented his most stirring poem Subh-e-Umeed, Morning of Hope, around that time. But in political matters, he subscribed to the ideals of the Congress. He never participated in practical politics, nor joined any political outfit. He never attended Congress sessions or worked on any of its bodies. But he was in complete agreement with the objectives of the Congress and shared its ideals. In a letter he writes, quote, "I always remained independent in my thinking. I worked with Sir Syed for 16 years, but in political matters I never agreed with him and continued to like Congress. I had many discussions with him on this issue." Unquote. About these differences, Habibur Rahman Khan Sherwani makes the following observation. One reason for disappointment of Shibli with the college was the difference of opinion regarding political matters. Shibli was now a supporter of the new political movement. If Shibli's writings on the subject are put to a careful analysis, it would emerge that his interest in politics has in fact grown out of his scholarly pursuits. It would appear that Shibli was drawn to nationalist politics of Congress through his studies of Islamic history and his devotion to the ideals of pan-Islamism. His study of history had aroused deep sense of hostility and hatred against the British power that had deprived the Muslims of the political authority in many of their lands and was at the root of their miseries. Moreover, as a symbol of the unity of Muslim world, Turkey occupied a very special place in the hearts of the Muslim world over. Indian Muslims felt particularly concerned by the development that affected Turkey. Shibli was very sensitive in this regard. His travels to Istanbul and to other regions of the Ottoman Empire in 1892 only strengthened this sense of attachment with Turks. He remained very closely associated with the efforts of the Indian Muslims